All right, everyone. I'm here with the publisher of all 49ers, Grant Cohn. We're here to break down a game that I think everybody is going to want to check out. It's the two teams that I think are the two best teams in the NFC. Two worthy combatants, two great offensive minds, two defenses looking to gain respect with Coach Steve Wilkes on the 49ers and Aaron Glenn on the Lions. Grant, I'm curious. You look at this 49er team, they've dealt with heartbreak. The last couple years, you had a team that was ready to compete for it all. Arguably, some of the best teams that have been assembled, but just have come up short. This year, from your observations, how ready are this group, the 49ers, to take the next step to get to the Super Bowl?
It feels like they've been ready for 4 years. They've been in 4 of the past 5 NFC Championship games, and they've really kept the same core of guys together. And that's rare in football. And now you've got one of the older teams in the NFL. They're not the oldest team, but they're one of the older teams. And a lot of their key players are either 30 or approaching 30. Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, on and on. So it feels like this is the year. If it's not this year, if you can't beat the Lions, nothing against the Lions, but if you can't beat the Lions as a 7-point favorite at home, something's wrong. You can't just keep running this back with the same group year after year and tell fans, well, there was an injury or we had some bad luck or, it was this and that, but we have the team. Like, no, you don't. You have not shown that you have a championship formula. You're an excellent team. So that's what's at stake with the 49ers. In this. I don't think the Lions have much pressure. It feels like the Lions are playing with house money. They're bursting on the stage. They're going to be back next year and the year after that. But if the Niners can't get it done this year, no one's getting fired. But all of a sudden, you look at Kyle way differently. You look at Brock Purdy way differently. Like, who are you guys really? Because I think locally, people would look at this loss as a disaster. They haven't lost yet.
Yeah, no, everybody out there thinks that, okay, this may be the year for the 49ers, especially with the way in which that offense has played and the defense. My goodness, the way in which they've burst onto the scene and played at such a high level. But one of the most important positions on the field, Grant, in Detroit, Jared Goff has really led the way, has had a stellar season, really has emerged since his time with the Rams. Tell me a little bit about what Brock Purdy has accomplished. Obviously, a player that Mr. Irrelevant, but bursts onto the scene and really is a player that has taken advantage of the opportunity that he's had.
He's a very cerebral player. Not only does he react well on the field and see the field well, like he's off the charts in terms of field vision and probably accuracy as well. But he works so hard as opposed to maybe Jimmy Garoppolo, who kind of saw it as maybe a 6 month of the year. I mean, Kyle would say, like, I can't get a hold of him in the offseason. Brock seems to be as big of a nerd as Matt Ryan was. And we remember Matt Ryan, his second go around with Kyle Shanahan, the second season, he had that system down pat and he put up historic numbers, was the MVP. Brock had a very similar year. You put his numbers up against 2016 Matt Ryan, very similar. And I think it's the same kind of mastery over the system that Jimmy Garoppolo, frankly, could have gotten to had he cared as much. I don't need to take shots at Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not even on the Niners anymore, but that's sort of what Brock did. He mastered the system. In addition, like, he is off the charts at field vision. He can get to his third or fourth read almost instantly. He just has a feel for where guys are going to be open. But his decision-making is interesting. For a long time, he was a great decision maker. Really a good game manager. They're 11-0 when he doesn't throw a pick. But halfway through the year, his numbers were so good. He got in the MVP conversation. And then former MVP started talking about whether he belonged in the MVP conversation. You had guys like Cam Newton being like, he's a game manager. So Brock, who's proud, which is a good quality, has this chip on his shoulder now, and he wants to show people that he's a gunslinger. He considers himself a gunslinger because he can layer balls into tight windows and stuff. It's like, all right, so his decision-making has changed a little bit now. But in the past, it was, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. I'm the last pick in the draft. I'm just trying to stay here and do my job. Now it's like, I got to prove that I'm MVP worthy. I got to prove it. And so now he's taking some chances that he absolutely doesn't need to take. And if you watch this game against the Packers closely last week, third play of the game, he serves up a pick six to Darnell Savage, like on a silver platter, and Savage just drops it, and the Niners win. But if he didn't, Niners might have lost. So that's sort of where Brock Purdy is right now. Kyle called him today one of the best decision makers in the league. Sometimes. And the thing about Brock, God love him, he knows it. You talk to him after a game, he'll be like, I was way too aggressive in this game. I was trying to push the ball downfield. I should have had taken the check. I like that about Brock. Whatever I'm saying, he said it first. He knows it. So still, he's got that Napoleonic complex. He just does. And he has to fight it during games. That's Brock.
Yeah, after that injury last year, you thought, okay, what's this mean for an emerging player? And look,
nothing.
Yeah, even though
nothing.
You know it was a situation in which it cost him an offseason, that he came back this year and really has played at a high level and really deserves a lot of credit for taking the job and really taking it to the level that it is. It's no easy feat to be the number 1 seed and advance in things like that. So yeah, I think that working with Kyle Shanahan makes any good quarterback look a lot better as well, especially if they have talent and the work ethic. And it clearly shows on film that he's developing, and look out in the future years. But looking to the other side of the football, my goodness, man, that Dan Campbell said on Thursday that, you know, this defense is probably as good as the Jets was last year, among the toughest in the National Football League, obviously led by Nick Bosa. You realize you got an interior that is very, very much aggressive. But what jumps out on tape to everybody that watches is those linebackers. Warner and Greenlaw just have the ability to wreak havoc in the middle. They're quick, they're agile, they make all the correct reads, they're doing what they got to do from that position. What makes them such a talented duo playing linebacker for the Niners defense?
Yeah, I mean, Greenlaw was a 5th-round pick. Warner was a 3rd-round pick. Like, the whole league could have had these guys. And now everyone looks at the Niners like, I want some linebackers like that. Hey, the Niners they're so invested in their defensive line, but every team has good defensive linemen. Not every team has linebackers like this. It's rare. And really, they should be paid a lot more, considering there's such an advantage. 2 linebackers who are equally good against the pass and the run. Boy, every team could use that. And it's interesting how the Niners found these guys. Like, so first, Warner. He was a freaking nickelback at BYU. He didn't even play in the box. He's a DB. And that's why the Niners liked him, because it's a passing league. And they're not worried about him, you know, sifting through bodies between the tackles. Like, they'll teach him that. He'll be good enough against the run. What can he do in coverage? He's 6'3", and you put him at middle linebacker in cover 3 or cover 4 and put him right there. You're not throwing over him. He just shut down the whole middle of the field, which is where every play caller in the Kyle Shanahan scheme wants to go. I mean, everyone wants to go over the middle of the field. It's the high percentage throw. So Fred Warner just takes that away. What a weapon. As a run defender, he's good. I'm not going to disrespect him, but he's not a big hitter. He's not super fast. Then we get to Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw is 6'3". He's about 5'11". So a lot of teams don't want a 5'11" linebacker, but man, he runs and hits. He's always like on the verge of a 15-yard penalty, which is kind of nice. Kind of a throwback player. Very violent, but also really, I mean, he won the game. 2 picks, not just 1, 2. So you get the speed and the violence from 1, the sideline to sideline play, and then the drop back coverage from Fred Warner. It's rare. They're great. I don't think Greenlaw gets enough credit. I think he's just as important. I think you need both of them. But is that not what the Lions were going for when they drafted Jack Campbell? Someone like Fred Warner, somewhat taller, who could sort of take away the middle of the field. It's easier said than done.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at building a defense, you definitely, when you want to be physical and violent and you want to be a read and react type of defense, having a Jack Campbell and an Alex Anzalone and a Derek Barnes, Lions are doing as best that they can to get their linebacking core to play at the high level. It's been up and down for the Lions defense, but in the stretch of the playoffs have taken their game to the next level. You hope that a Jack Campbell can really become impactful. He's a rookie, but he does have the traits that you'd want to see similar to the 49ers.
Yeah, Fred Warner wasn't a great player as a rookie. He came on really in his 2nd year.
Yeah, it's a tough position. Aaron Glennon said it's not one in which you're going to master right away, but they've thrown Jack Campbell out there, get him the experience needed, and he's made some plays. But
real quick, before we move on from the linebacker thing, people don't talk about. Sorry, real quick, before we move on with the Niners, people don't talk about Dre Greenlaw very much. But if you remember when Kyle Shanahan first got here, his 2nd pick was Reuben Foster, who didn't work out. Then they went and they signed Quan Alexander, who again didn't work out. Then Dre Greenlaw just comes along, and who's supposed to be the backup, just some 5th round pick, and is everything and more that the Niners hoped Reuben Foster or Quan Alexander would be. And if he had been that 1st round pick with that pedigree in college, he'd get all the freaking accolades, but he isn't and wasn't. So he's just little Dre Greenlaw making an impact over here, but he's really good. Sorry.
Yeah, and as you can see, that's going to be a big challenge for the Lions running attack. Clearly trying to avoid the middle and trying to scheme away from the best players on the 49ers defense, and to move away from Warner and Greenlaw be very key. Obviously looking at film and what the Packers were able to do, running outside those tackles might be the best option for the Lions running game, because you don't want to square up against 2 of the elite linebackers. When you look at this game, it really looks like 2 teams that were built very similar. We got Sam Laporta, the elite tight end. You guys got George Kittle, all-world, who's got the experience that can take over a game. Lions have an offensive mind in Dan Campbell, Kyle Shanahan, most respected offensive mind. 2 defenses trying to be physical and aggressive. 2 quarterbacks, pocket passers trying to do their thing. What do you think for the 49ers, what's the biggest key for them to take advantage of what the Lions maybe don't do as well? What's the biggest key for the 49ers to get this W on Sunday?
Well, if the Lions want to blitz, it seems like that's what they do, right? They're aggressive. They rush 5, they rush 6. Good luck. Because that's one thing that Brock Purdy handles very well. He's very decisive, and he has endless options of people to dunk it down to. If you want to take people out of coverage in the middle of the field and rush them at Brock, he's going to dump the ball to Debo or McCaffrey or whomever, and they're going to get 8 yards. So that's not the way to approach this team. It's better to rush 4 and just play coverage. Put as many people in zone coverage over the middle as you can, because Brock's going to throw that pass. Little gunslinger over there. He doesn't care. He can layer passes into tight windows. Just ask him. So that's what you want to do. You know where he's going to throw the ball. Be there. Don't try to blitz him or treat him like a young quarterback, because he'll burn you. And then other than that, Jonah Jackson not being out there is going to hurt. Frank Ragnow being banged up, going to hurt. Because the best way to shut down any quarterback who's not mobile, Goff, Peyton, Brady, pressure up the middle. And Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead. I mean, Hargrave is real quick. He can beat a guy around the edge. Eric Armstead will just bull rush you back. And then Nick Bosa and Chase Young haven't been doing a lot recently, but they'll be there too. So if they can get pressure in Goff's face, Lions are in trouble. That being said, Niners have a tough time stopping the run. It may not just come down to pass defense for the Niners. They may have to really play some blue-collar, gritty run defense to win this game, which they haven't done.
Right. For all the marbles, this Sunday in Santa Clara, Levi Stadium, everybody's going to be paying attention. It's the final game this weekend. We'll know at the time of kickoff, those 2 teams, the Niners and the Detroit Lions, will know who their potential opponent could be by the time the game is kicked off. How do you see this game playing out? And give us a little update. How Debo look if you got a chance to get that window. We heard he's limited in practice, so this has been the first day that he's been back potentially. Give us the update on Debo. What can he do, and how do you see this game playing out in Santa Clara this Sunday?
I mean, Debo's out there. He's limited. You watch him run around. You can't tell that he's hurt. It's not like he's in a sling or anything. So he's going to play most likely. It's the NFC Championship game. I mean, over his dead body, right? But the question is, how Debo plays. He's not going to be running double moves down the field. He's going to be catching screens, running into traffic, lowering his shoulder, trying to break tackles. So this injury last week, it wasn't a fracture. It was, I don't know, they won't say what it is, but it was so painful he couldn't come back to the game. He didn't even try. So how many tackles can he break before this thing hurts so much that he can't stay in the game? That's a fair question. It's only been a week. So assuming that's an issue and he may not make it through the game, how do they use him? Is he a big part of their game plan? Is he not? I don't think he can be. I think he's got to be kind of a decoy, maybe window dressing. But even so, you still have Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Kyle Shanahan. I mean, Brock Purdy, more than enough. And this Lions defense, like you mentioned, like they kind of struggle at corner. They don't have a great 4-man pass rush. They feel like they have to blitz to get pressure. Purdy's great against pressure, against 5 and 6-man pressures. I feel like the Niners should score 30. I think they should. They've been doing that to most teams this year. I don't know if the Lions have the defense to stop it. So I think the Niners are going to win 31-23. And they could lose. The Lions are definitely have a puncher's chance, but that would involve the Niners sort of doing what they did last week against the Packers, not playing up to their standard. If they play up to their standard, they should win by 7 or 8. But frankly, they haven't done that since December 3rd when they beat Philly, who really wasn't as good as the Niners thought they were. So maybe the Niners will play down. And it's not that far down. I don't think that's a huge difference between the Niners and the Lions, but I think there is a difference. And if the Niners are playing their best, I'm saying 31-23.
Make sure everyone check out All Lions for all the highlights, analysis of everything that's going to go on this Sunday, but also make sure to check out All 49ers. Grant does great work. He's in the know, in the building. I had a chance to peek around the site earlier today. He wrote a pen to piece about what would it mean for the Niners if they lost this game. Real interesting. It's going to be a great contest. Everybody tune in Sunday, NFC Championship. It's going to be a phenomenal game, I think, down to the wire.
Can't wait. I agree. Thank you, John.